A snake doesn't bite the river for carrying it forward, but it will still strike if you try to touch it. In life, you will meet people whose presence feels like smoke in a sacred space, polluting your peace, clouding your mind. Their words may cut without a blade. Their actions may drain without touch. These are what we call toxic people. But the Shaolin path teaches, do not allow the behavior of others to poison your inner stillness. This is not a teaching about avoiding all negativity. This is a path to mastering your response to it. Because true strength is not in overpowering others. It is in remaining unmoved by their storms. Let us now walk through 5 teachings rooted in Shaolin wisdom that will help you deal with toxic people, not with anger, but with clarity, compassion, and power. 1. Recognize without absorption. In the teachings of the Shaolin Temple, the first lesson is always this: awareness precedes mastery. Before one can act, one must see clearly, and before one can see clearly, one must first learn to still the mind. In the presence of toxic people, this is the greatest challenge: to remain still when provoked, to see clearly when the air is thick with emotional distortion. Toxicity in others does not always come in the form of open hostility. Sometimes it wears a smile. Sometimes it's disguised as sarcasm, subtle manipulation, constant complaints, or a pattern of shifting blame. These energies do not scream, they seep. And before you realize it, they have invaded your thoughts, your mood, your sense of worth. But understand this: just because someone throws mud, it doesn't mean you must catch it. To recognize without absorbing is to separate observation from identification. Most people absorb toxic behavior because they make it personal. A hurtful comment is taken as a reflection of who they are. A passive-aggressive remark is allowed to take root in the mind. But the Shaolin path teaches detachment from illusion. The behavior of others is a mirror of their inner world, not yours. A person full of unhealed wounds, jealousy, or self-loathing will project that chaos onto anyone who comes close. If you internalize it, you become a part of their suffering cycle. Imagine you are walking through a marketplace. People shout, bargain, argue. One man yells, "You are worthless," but he is shouting into the air, not directly at you. Would you be disturbed? No, you would keep walking. Now imagine someone says the same thing, but with your name attached. Suddenly, it feels personal, but is it really? The words are still born of their own pain. This is what we must dissolve. We must learn to see, not absorb. Recognition without absorption is a practice of the inner witness. When someone says something unkind, step back within yourself. Observe your bodily response. Is there tension in your chest? A heat rising in your face? Good. This is awareness. Now, pause, breathe. Say inwardly, this is their energy, not mine. You are not resisting, you are not reacting, you are simply not participating in the drama. This is the mark of true power, not to overpower others, but to remain untouched by their storms. A monk once said, "Do not let the behavior of others destroy your inner peace." If someone pours poison into the river does not drink it. It continues flowing. You too must become like this river. Let them pour what they will, let them project what they must. But you continue to flow, unbustled, undisturbed, and deeply centered in your own clarity. To reach this level requires daily cultivation. Each encounter with a toxic person is not a curse, but an invitation to sharpen your presence, to deepen your understanding, to cleanse your boundaries. When you feel hurt or insulted, ask, is this mine to carry? Or is this a reflection of their suffering being handed to me like a gift I do not need to accept? Walk gently, but do not carry what is not yours. And remember, recognizing toxicity does not make you judgmental, it makes you wise. Absorbing it makes you reactive. Detaching from it makes you powerful. This is the first gate in the path of dealing with toxic people. Not to fix them, not to fight them, but to see them for what they are. Teachers in disguise, testing the firmness of your own spirit. To master the power of non-reaction. In the Shaolin tradition, one of the highest disciplines is not how fast you strike, but how still you remain. The untrained mind reacts to provocation like dry grass to a flame, quick to burn, quick to spread, quick to lose control. But the trained mind, the disciplined mind, observes no fire. It observes it, it understands its nature, and in doing so, it remains untouched. This is the art of non-reaction. To understand this deeply, you must recognize that every time you react without awareness, you are giving away your energy. You are handing your center to someone else. A toxic person thrives on this, on pulling you into their emotional current. They know which buttons to push, which words trigger, which silences provoke. And if you allow them, they will turn your mind into a battlefield you never intended to enter. This is not about winning arguments. This is about preserving your peace. In the Shaolin temple, young disciples are taught to remain in horse stance for hours, not because it is physically necessary, but because it trains the mind to endure discomfort without reaction. The lesson is simple. You are not your first impulse, you are the awareness behind it. Just like the body can shake, sweat, and tremble, yet the spirit within remains focused. Your emotions can surge, but you do not have to act upon them. When faced with a toxic person, especially one who seeks conflict, the greatest disruption you can offer is silence. Not passive silence, but presence-filled silence. A silence that does not mean fear, it means choice. It means restraint rooted in self-respect. Most people argue to be right, but the Shaolin monk seeks to be free. And freedom comes when your inner world is no longer dictated by the noise of others. You must begin to see every toxic exchange as a training ground. When someone insults you, what is the urge? To defend? To prove them wrong? To attack back? These are reflexes, not responses. They arise from the ego's fear of losing control or worse. But what if you could pause? What if you could look at that moment and say inwardly, I choose not to feed this energy. That choice, made again and again, becomes a habit. That habit becomes a way of being. And that way of being becomes power. Picked up a bell hanging still in the temple. It does not ring until struck, but even then, it rings only once and returns to silence. Toxic people will try to strike your bell again and again, but if you do not allow the echo to carry, they will eventually grow tired. They may shout louder, become more manipulative, even paint you as cold or arrogant. Let them. What they're truly disturbed by is not your lack of care, but your lack of reaction. There is a saying, he who angers you conquers you. The world does not need more warriors in conflict. It needs warriors of calm. Those who can hold peace even in the presence of chaos. This is not about suppressing your truth. It's about choosing the right moment, the right space, and the right intention to express it. Non-reaction does not mean passivity. It means mastery. And mastery begins when you can sit with discomfort without being moved by it. Imagine this. Someone stands before you, throwing words like stones. You feel the sting, but you remain unmoved, not because you are numb, but because you have trained your spirit not to flinch. Your calm becomes your armor, your stillness, your response. This disturbs them more than anger ever could. Let their noise reveal their character. Let your silence reveal yours. Let your presence speak louder than your defense. Because in the end, the one who does not react is the one who has nothing to lose and everything to protect with. 3. Compassion with boundaries. There is a quiet misconception that to walk a spiritual path is to tolerate everything, forgive endlessly, and keep no walls between yourself and those who harm you. But Shaolin wisdom teaches otherwise. True compassion is not boundless tolerance. It is clear recognition of suffering met with kindness and wisdom. And wisdom knows this. Compassion without boundaries becomes self-destruction. When dealing with toxic people, the heart often fights itself in conflict. Especially for those with kind souls, there is an inner voice that says, but maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe if I'm patient enough, they'll change. Maybe I'm being too harsh. This voice comes not from weakness, but from a deep empathy. And this is true. But it is also true that your healing should not be the battlefield for theirs. You are not responsible for saving those who repeatedly harm you. That is not compassion. That is entanglement. Shaolin monks are not cruel. They do not speak in bitterness, but they also do not entertain repeated disrespect. Why? Because they understand that energy is sacred. Just like a temple must be cleaned and guarded from defilement, your inner temple must be protected through conscious boundaries. Compassion is offering water to the thirsty, but not letting them drown you as they drink. It begins with recognizing your own worth. A person who truly values their own energy does not place it in the hands of those who consistently abuse it. You can care about someone deeply and still choose to limit your contacts. You can wish them healing and still walk away. This is not coldness, it is clarity. You are not cutting them off in hatred, you are stepping away in self-respect. And from this space, true compassion is born. One of the most profound teachings in Shaolin philosophy is the image of bamboo. Bamboo is soft to the touch, flexible in the storm, and yet firm at its root. It bends, but it does not break. This is what you must become. Do not close your heart. Let your compassion flow, but let it flow within the channels of discernment. If someone continually lies, manipulates, drains, or harms, recognize the pattern and respond with firmness, not fury, with distance, not disdain. And yes, this will be misunderstood. Some people will call your boundaries walls. They will say you've changed. They will accuse you of being distant, uncaring. Let them. Their discomfort is not your burden. Their judgment is not your truth. The monk does not explain his silence to the noisy world. He simply walks in peace. And you must do the same. Often we fear that setting boundaries will lead to loss of relationships, of approval, of love. But what is truly lost when you set a boundary is illusion. Illusion that someone ever respected you as much as they should. Illusion that love must always hurt. Illusion that peace can be found by pleasing everyone. When these illusions fall away, you are left not with emptiness, but with truth. And that truth becomes the foundation of your strength. Practice saying no with a steady heart. Practice removing yourself from conversations that drain you. Practice surrounding yourself with those who do not need to be convinced to treat you well. And above all, remember, you are not rejecting others when you set boundaries. You are accepting yourself. To people who often test these boundaries, they will guilt you, charm you, plead with you. But the Shaolin path is not reactive. It is rooted. Your boundary is not a wall, it is a gate. It opens to love, it closes to harm. That is the middle path. Not cruelty, not passivity, but compassion with clarity. The ability to extend kindness without sacrificing your dignity. Or transmute their energy into self-growth. The Shaolin monk does not waste energy, not even the energy of hardship. In the Shaolin way, every encounter, even with those who cause suffering, becomes a tool for inner development. The hurtful words, the passive aggression, the betrayals, they are all part of the curriculum of self-mastery. They do not derail the past, they are the past. Because what is wisdom if it only lives in theory? True growth begins not when life is peaceful, but when it is tested. And toxic people, whether knowingly or not, become some of the greatest mirrors for that test. It is easy to speak of inner peace when no one disturbs it, but it is a different challenge entirely to maintain it in the presence of someone who triggers your wounds, pokes at your insecurities, or brings up past pain. That challenge is sacred, for it shows you what is still unhealed. Every time someone evokes a reaction in you, pause, not to blame them, but to learn about yourself. What did they awaken in you? Anger, fear of abandonment, a need for validation? These are not weaknesses. They are invitations. Each one says, "Come, look deeper. There is something here that still needs your care." Transmuting negative energy into growth does not mean denying your feelings. It means embracing them as signals, not destinations. If you feel hurt, ask, "What is this pain teaching me about my needs?" If you feel resentment, ask, "Where am I overgiving or abandoning myself?" In this way, toxic people cease to be enemies. They become unwilling teachers, not because they're... This is the way of the inner alchemist, one who turns pain into power, insult into insight, chaos into clarity. It is not a mystical process, it is a mental discipline. Imagine each toxic encounter as a fire. You can either be burned by it, or you can use it to force yourself stronger, calmer, more rooted. What determines the outcome is your response. Do you feed the fire with reaction, or do you... There is a saying in the East, "The stone that blocks your path can also sharpen your blade." A Shaolin monk does not curse the stone, he thanks it. For without resistance, there is no growth, and without growth, the spirit remains soft and untrained. So when someone disrespects you, reflect. When someone provokes you, breathe and observe. Not with passive presence, use the energy they throw at you to refine your... You may notice in time that the more you grow from their energy, the less they affect you. This is the alchemy at work. What used to pierce your peace no longer even reaches your heart. What used to trigger tears now triggers insight. And in this transformation, you reclaim something very powerful: sovereignty over your inner world. No one can take from you what you have already transformed. The lesson becomes yours. The strength becomes yours, and most importantly, the freedom becomes yours. Some may wonder, why should I have to grow because someone else is toxic? Why is the burden on me? But the monk does not ask who is to blame. He asks, what is within my control? And the answer is always the same: your response, your energy, your evolution. By taking ownership of your growth, you do not excuse the harm, you transcend it. You do not become a victim, you become a vessel of wisdom, shaped not in comfort but in fire. Let every difficult person refine your discipline. Let every painful word deepen your compassion for yourself and for others. Let every storm reveal how anchored you truly are. This is how you walk the Shaolin path in daily life, not by escaping difficulty, but by using it to deepen your presence. Not by avoiding the poison, but by learning to transmute it into medicine that heals you from within. 5. Detention is the final liberation. In the Shaolin tradition, the final lesson in dealing with toxic people is not resistance nor retaliation. It is detachment. Detachment does not mean disinterest. It does not mean apathy or coldness. In its truest form, detachment is the flowering of wisdom. It is the realization that peace does not require explanation and freedom does not require permission. When the mind no longer clings, neither to the pain others cause, nor to the fantasy of who they could be, that is when you are truly free. Most suffering in toxic relationships comes not from the behavior of the other, but from our attachment to an outcome, a role, a hope. We wish they would change. We wish they would understand. We wish they could see how deeply they hurt us. But the Shaolin way is to see clearly without illusion. And the truth is this: some people will never meet you where you are. The monk learns not to fight this truth, but to bow to it. He does not cling to what does not nourish his past. He does not grieve the falling away of what was never rooted in understanding. Detachment is the soft letting go, not of people, but of need. The need to be liked, to be validated, to be proven right. These needs keep you bound, reactive, and endlessly pulled into other people's storm. But when you detach, when you stop feeding your peace to earn someone's presence, you return to your natural state, unshaken and whole. There is a story from the Shaolin temple. A young disciple once asked the master, "What should I do when someone close to me keeps hurting me, but I love them?" The master replied, "If you love the flower, you do not pluck it. If you truly love, let it be and let it grow or wither on its own. You may care, but you do not cling. It is that you stop abandoning yourself in the name of that love. When you detach, you no longer chase apologies that never come. You no longer rehearse conversations in your mind trying to make them understand. You no longer wait for them to become who they promise to be. You see clearly, accept fully, and move forward with grace. And from this place, your peace is no longer conditional. It is no longer held hostage by anyone's behavior. Many fear detachment because they mistake it for loneliness. But the Shaolin path teaches that solitude is not emptiness, it is presence undiluted. It is the sacred space where your spirit returns to center. In detachment, there is clarity. You begin to see who truly honors your presence. You begin to hear your own voice again. You begin to recognize that the love you were seeking in someone else was simply a reflection of the love you had not yet given yourself. Yes, this journey can be painful. To walk away from someone you cared for, to release someone you tried so hard to understand. But pain is not the enemy. Attachment to illusion is. The illusion that they will change, that your suffering will earn their awakening, that your silence will be enough. Let go, not out of anger, but out of wisdom, because the path ahead requires your full energy, and you cannot walk freely if your spirit is still tied to what drains it. So practice the art of sacred detachment. Withdraw your energy where it is not respected. Reclaim your time from those who squander it. Step out of circles where your growth is a threat, not in bitterness, but in stillness. Let your absence be a prayer for their healing, and let your forward motion be a commitment to your own. Detachment is not the end of love. It is the return to self-respect. It is the final gate through which peace walks freely into your life. Not guarded, not borrowed, but earned. Through every breath you did not waste, every silence you honored, and every step you took away from what could not hold your truth. When we began this reflection, I asked you to consider a simple truth. Not all battles are worth entering, and not all storms deserve your attention. The presence of toxic people in your life is not a punishment. It is a mirror, a lesson, a gate. Some are here to show you the strength of your stillness. Others arrive only to test the depth of your boundaries. But in each case, they offer a path, not outward, but inward, a return to self. Through recognition without absorption, you learn to see clearly without letting others' chaos cloud your clarity. Through non-reaction, you discover the silent power of restraint. Through compassionate boundaries, you claimed your space without sacrificing your kindness. Through the alchemy of growth, you turned their darkness into your light. And through detachment, you found that the final freedom is not found in being understood, it is found in understanding yourself. You are not here to heal everyone you meet. You are not here to win their approval. You are here to walk in peace and to guard that peace like a sacred flame. Toxic people will come and go. Their words may sting, their presence may unsettle, but they cannot enter the temple you protect within. And so I leave you with this timeless reminder from the Dhammapada. As the solid rock is not shaken by the wind, so the wise are not moved by praise or blame. Let this be your inner challenge. Start today, not by reacting, not by fixing, not by chasing, but by sitting still and seeing what remains. Return to your breath, return to your awareness, and in that quiet, rediscover the unshakable peace that has always been yours. Thank you for sharing this moment of presence. May your days ahead be free of noise, full of clarity, and rooted in the gentle strength of stillness.